Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and thank you for joining us today. I am Kim from the CourtReserve product team, and I'm here with Josh today, also with our CourtReserve product team. And today we're going to be walking you all through what is a CourtReserve enterprise. So a lot of exciting stuff here today to share with you. Before we get started, if just a couple housekeeping items, if anybody has questions, while we are in this webinar, please add them to the Q&A section in your Zoom window. We want to make sure that we're using the Q&A section. After these webinars, we can actually go back and look at all these questions, but excuse me, we can't see the chats. So if you guys could please be using the Q&A section to post any questions that you have as we go along, that would be amazing. But let's go ahead and jump right in. And again, our goal here today is to just open your eyes a little bit to what CourtReserve enterprises entail, what they are, and how they work. And then we'll give you some information on how to upgrade if you are interested. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. Again, there's one thing that we did want to make sure that everybody was aware of, and that is that our last stop of our Catalyst 2025 tour is going to be next week in Skillman, New Jersey. You're going to have the opportunity to spend a day with our CourtReserve team and learn just anything and everything about the platform. Get all of your questions answered. We do one-on-ones in these sessions as well. So Josh did drop the link to Catalyst in the notes below or in the chat. So you can grab that link and sign up if you're interested. This is going to be probably the largest Catalyst that we've had. I think there's only a few spots remaining. So definitely, if you're interested in joining us in New Jersey, check that out and purchase your ticket today, because today is the last day to buy a ticket to Catalyst in New Jersey. All right, well, today we are here to talk about enterprises in CourtReserve. So what is an enterprise? CourtReserve breaks all of our organization subscriptions up into different tiers or levels. And enterprises is going to be our premium tier for customers that have multiple locations and need to manage those multiple locations in one platform. So our enterprise tier offers, again, multi-location management, network memberships. Network memberships allow your members to access multiple locations with only choosing one membership and purchasing one membership. It also offers API access to creating a branded mobile app, so you have your own app presence in the App Store, and a lot more functionality. So today we're going to review what some of this functionality looks like. Got some slides to present to you. Slides aren't super exciting, so after we kind of go through the basics, I'm going to jump into the platform itself and kind of show you what enterprises are all about from an admin perspective. All right, so why enterprises with CourtReserve? So we want to help you adapt to supporting growth from one club to multiple locations. So within our enterprise model, we're actually going to assist you in getting to this multi-location realm. So you're going to go from, one or multiple instances of CourtReserve to still having these locations, but being able to manage them in one space. We're also going to, again, walk you through any onboarding through this process as well. So if, we'll get you with an AE to get you upgraded to the enterprise tier. And then from there, if you're adding locations, you'll still have access to the onboarding process as well. So having an enterprise also offers your admins streamlined access within the platform. So having an enterprise means that your admins can have access to a single sign-on. So that's this SSO in my first point here. So what is an SSO? The SSO allows your admins to move through different organizations with their one CourtReserve login email address. So one of the things we hear a lot is that if I'm, in CourtReserve, I can't share my email address between locations if I'm an admin in multiple locations. Well, if you have an enterprise in CourtReserve and it unlocks you the ability to share that email address between the locations in your enterprise. So as long as your as long as your system user profile in each of these enterprise locations carries the same email address, your admins or your sub-admins are going to be able to navigate between the different locations should they need access to the different locations. So it's definitely a great benefit of enterprises to have this SSO so that you can have your admins maybe go between the different clubs if they need to manage members or look at information. And then again, with the customized access of the SSO, if you have sub-admins, you're able to grant specific permissions to maintain control across the network. So if you only want somebody to have certain permissions in one location, you can do that based on their system user settings in that location versus maybe more access in a different one. All right, so with an enterprise, we've introduced a new concept of another role within the system. So we call this role an enterprise manager. So an enterprise manager is going to be somebody that just has access to your enterprise dashboard. And we'll go over what an enterprise dashboard is in a few minutes. But an enterprise manager is somebody that we would consider to have like a very high level of access with your organization. These people could potentially well, they'll be able to set up your location template. They get to decide things about your network memberships that are carried across different locations. They get to see enterprise level reporting, so they can see reporting from your different locations. So because there's sensitive information maybe within your enterprise, you don't necessarily want every system user or admin to see this information. We definitely recommend keeping the access to the enterprise manager permission at a very high level. It's only a need to know. It's only a need to have. So these aren't people that are going to necessarily, these might not be people that are necessarily, they're in your day-to-day at your locations, but also these are the people that you really maybe trust to manage your enterprise or your franchise to make sure that they're using that access appropriately. All right. So with having access to enterprises, again, I mentioned this enterprise dashboard. So within the enterprise dashboard, there's different things that you can do as an enterprise manager. One of those things is we allow you the access to have a location template. So what is a location template? This is how I'm going to be creating more locations. So if I am a franchise or I'm opening and expanding and scaling and opening up more locations, I can take one of my current instances of one of my locations and I can copy it to be my location template. So the first organization that you set up, we do recommend making this like your beta. This is the club that you're going to move forward with. And then when you get ready to open those next locations, you're going to copy the initial club that you set up, maybe your location A, and then that kind of becomes the template for all of your locations moving forward. Now, once you create that location template, that is your location template. So you can actually keep up with your location template, make changes to it so that anytime, as you make business decisions down the road, you can make those business decisions in your location template. And then as you open new locations, those settings are going to be the default for any new locations that you set up. So it definitely is a time saver to have access to this location template. Think about all of the settings that maybe you set up in advance when you were opening your first location. And so having that location template really gets those basic settings of your CourtReserve platform set up from the get-go. You don't have as much information that you're going to have to be setting up for each individual location. And then having access to the enterprise tier or being on an enterprise tier with CourtReserve in multiple locations, you're automatically going to gain access to the CourtReserve API. Now, what is an API? If you don't know what an API is, it's basically how two systems communicate information to each other. So through our API, you are going to be able to pull information out of your CourtReserve system and maybe pull it into different management tools that you have. So it provides a centralized access with an API key. You're offering a global view of across all of your locations. So there are endpoints for multiple locations. So you can get that aggregated data for your reporting and oversight. So it definitely is a way to simplify the integration and allows enterprise managers to manage multiple facilities under one umbrella by, again, extracting that data and that information. All right, so one of the really exciting pieces about enterprises in CourtReserve is our feature that we launched this past spring and summer called network memberships. So I mentioned at the beginning, network memberships allows your members to purchase one single membership at one of your locations and then access another location or multiple more locations within your enterprise's network. There's some customizations around network memberships. It can be flexible on which locations can sell this membership. And if a member purchases this membership, which locations do they have access to? So one of the amazing benefits of network memberships, though, is that when your member purchases this membership and they go to another location and they house this membership, they're automatically going to be granted access into these additional locations. They're not going to have to go through that sign up process, and their information is going to be preloaded into your system when they go through that access process. So within your branded mobile app or within their desktop interface, if they're still going to have to go maybe search for another club, we're not automatically putting them into your database at every single club. But once they request access into these additional clubs, it's automatically going to create their profile for them based on the information from their origin location. So wherever they set that up first, and then they're going to be set up in your system. So they're not going to have to go through that sign up process. They're not going to have to enter all of that same information all over again. Excuse me, as long as the information, you have the same custom fields and things like that between locations, that information is going to carry into their profile. So it's definitely a faster way to get in. I will say that, excuse me, the only thing we are really not able to carry in right now is payment profile information. Payment profile information is housed at the individual location level. We actually don't even store that information. It's stored securely through our payment providers. So the payment profiles don't transfer over with a network membership if they go visit another club. One of the things we do recommend in this case is making sure that you have requiring payment profiles set up for your reservations and your events. That way you can catch them as soon as they go to participate in an activity. And again, we will dive into network memberships a little bit here in a few minutes once I show you the dashboard. And here's the dashboard. I should have had this slide a little bit earlier. So the enterprise dashboard is really a centralized management location for all of your enterprise activity. So we've kind of upped the hierarchy a little bit. So you've got your locations. If you could see me, I'm doing some hand gestures. You've got locations that are kind of just all at the same level. And then above that, you have this enterprise dashboard or this enterprise level that really houses all of the master permissions for your locations or for your enterprise. So within the location or within the enterprise dashboard, I can access all of my locations. So if I'm an enterprise manager, I'm going to have access to every single location. I'm also going to have access here to my location template, so I can make updates to it. And then I can assign new enterprise users. We're going to get into enterprise users when I get into the dashboard, but enterprise users are going to be your other enterprise managers. So you could allow other people in your organizations to be enterprise managers, but again, we don't recommend giving this permission to just anybody. And then within your enterprise dashboard, this is where you're also going to have access to some of those high-level enterprise reports. We do have some reporting available within the enterprise dashboard, so you don't necessarily need to go into those individual locations to get this data. You could get some of it at a very high level from your enterprise dashboard. All right, and then with enterprises, we've also are offering a different type of billing. This is really dependent on the way that you have your franchises or the way that you have your enterprises and business models set up. We have lots of clubs doing both models. So what everybody's familiar with is our subscription pricing that is per location. That is what every customer has been familiar with from the get-go with CourtReserve. So you have your monthly pricing per location. With enterprise billing, you can actually streamline your financials and get every single one of those locations paid in one bill. So so we have some franchises that include in their monthly fees for their franchises, they're including their subscription payment and stuff. So they have an enterprise bill to pay all of their subscriptions for all of their locations at one time. So it's not, you don't have different organizations then on different billing cycles and everything. Every organization becomes streamlined under one payment, and then you don't have to be reconciling different organization or subscription payments every month. Or you can leave it at the location level. So again, that is also a very common thing. We give each location the responsibility of doing their own subscription payment every month. And then it would just come down to what everybody is used to. You have that subscription tab, and then it does their billing for them monthly based on whatever payment they have in there. So you have some flexibility there, but within the enterprise dashboard, if you are under enterprise billing, you can give access to your accountant or whoever you need to access this enterprise dashboard, and they can get all that billing information monthly. You can update your payment profiles here and see all of your past payments. And then the branded mobile app. This is probably for me the most exciting piece about having an enterprise. Yes, you do have access to the branded mobile app if you're on the scale tier, but once you get to the enterprise tier, it unlocks the ability to be able to use this branded mobile app for all of your locations. So if you're on the scale tier and you just have the one location, you don't have the ability to search for other organizations. Well, with the branded mobile app on enterprises, your users are going to have access to any other location within your enterprise, within that branded mobile app. So definitely a perk of that branded app. Again, it keeps the focus on your location or on your brand. We build that app for you. We are maintaining that app for you. We really just have you provide us with a couple of details and a splash screen. So it's definitely an easy setup. There is a one-time setup fee for the branded mobile app that is not part of the enterprise subscription pricing. But the branded mobile app is definitely something that you can, give to your players. This is our app. This is how you sign up. This is how you participate, and they can do it all through the branded app. All right. And then when you are on enterprises, I hope that you're adding locations constantly and you're constantly building your brand. And so with each new location that you come on with, they automatically are going to be getting access to adding unlimited locations. You're going to get 90 days free for each location that you add. So you can pre-sell memberships and you can train and you can prepare your staff. So definitely a perk of having that enterprise tier. All right. So we're going to shift a little bit and we're going to go into the dashboard. I don't see any questions, Josh, so I'm just going to keep going. um, so one of the exciting pieces that I had mentioned about being on an enterprise tier and having multiple locations is that now as an admin or as an enterprise manager, you're going to have access to the enterprise dashboard. Okay, so how do I get into my enterprise dashboard? Well, there's a couple of ways. So if I am actually, hold on, let me log out really quickly and then I can start this process from the beginning. So when I log into CourtReserve, if you log in and you are part of a single organization, so all of my lovely logins that I have for CourtReserve, you get to your scheduler. Well, now once you become an enterprise manager, you're going to, every time you log into CourtReserve for the first time that day, you're going to get to your list of locations. And so from here, I can decide as an enterprise manager, which location I need to jump into and fix today, which fires am I putting out right now. So you have access to all of your locations through this table. You also, here's that navigation screen or the navigation bar on the left-hand side that we saw in one of the screenshots. So you have access to your locations here, your location templates. There's a quick access into your network memberships here as well. My enterprise monthly billing, adding more enterprise managers, reporting, and then we also have an enterprise dashboard level audit log, which it doesn't, it just kind of tracks, when you update your billing information, if you have enterprise billing, and when you add enterprise users, delete enterprise users, add locations, things like that. So let's dive into enterprise users first. I want to make sure that I kind of hone in on what an enterprise user or an enterprise manager is. It's titled enterprise users right now because, it's at some point we do have the possibility of maybe expanding to different levels of enterprise users, kind of like we have sub admins and organizations. Perhaps in the future we could expand the level of users in the enterprise to be maybe enterprise managers and sub-manager type things. But for right now, any user that you create as an enterprise manager is going to be, or enterprise user is going to be an enterprise manager. So right now we just really have one level of role when you are creating users. Now, giving a user access to be an enterprise manager doesn't necessarily mean that they're in your organizations. So you're still going to want to make sure, especially if you want to have the SSO, you're still going to want to make sure that you have your enterprise manager, maybe at least one system user in another location. If they're not in all of the locations, if I wasn't in like this location right here, I would have an access button so they can still get into the locations if they want to, but they should be in at least one location prior to adding them as an enterprise manager. So then I also want to point out that enterprise users, again, we really want to make sure that you are only giving access to an enterprise user to people that really need access to this level of your organization. This really isn't for your everyday admin and sub-admin. It isn't really for those maybe not necessarily for your part-time staff and things like that. These are truly people that are running your business. And so make sure that these are people that you trust to be at this high level within your organizations. And we will go over the difference between system users and enterprise managers again in a few minutes once I get back into my location, but let's just kind of keep going through all of the different pieces of the enterprise dashboard. So now we're going to jump into location templates. Location template is a huge piece to your day-to-day or to your enterprise business if you're going to be adding locations and if you have franchises. So if I hadn't had my location template set up yet, I would be able to copy it from any of my existing organizations that are in my enterprise. So even if you're, 2 or 3 organizations in before you set up your enterprise, you can still pick one of those organizations to be your template for the future organizations that you may open down the road. Once you get into location template, again, these are just going to be more of your system default settings that are going to be in place when you create new locations. So you have all of general settings here. You have kiosks. You can set different things up to be standard between organizations. You can also set up different your reservation types, custom fields, booking settings, and everything like that to keep everything standard with all of the new locations that you create. So the idea here is we want to give you as much of your location already set up as possible without you having to go in and set everything up from scratch. Now, there are going to be some things that you're not able to set up in your location template. One of those things specifically would be, you don't even see it here, we don't even show it, but your integrated payments. So your integrated payments aren't going to be set up at the location template level because those are always very location specific. You're still going to enter your payment provider's API keys at the location level. So you're still going to have some setup to do. This isn't just a one-time and go thing when you create a new location. It's going to set those standards for you, and then there's still going to be setup involved when you are creating a new location. But again, the goal here is to standardize your setup so you do get a very similar look and feel between all of your organizations as you create new ones. Okay, so let's jump to our memberships next. So there's a couple of different ways that you can handle memberships within the location template. So let's say I am never gonna, I just want to create standard memberships that are always going to be available at my locations once I create new ones. So maybe I've got an individual membership, I've got a family membership, and I have a free visitor membership. And these are always going to be my standards every time I create a new location. I can create those here. We call them local memberships. Local just means they're available in that location. They're not going to be sold elsewhere. So those are going to be maybe just your standard bread and butter memberships that, are going to only be housed in these locations. But you can preset those memberships here in your location template. So you don't have to go set them up from scratch every single time you create a new location. So that's one of the benefits of having memberships in your location template, is that you can preset these local memberships and then they'll populate into your location or into your new locations when they're created. The second piece of memberships in your location template is network memberships. So network memberships was a very large undertaking with the CourtReserve. It changed a lot of things about how memberships work in CourtReserve. So, they were just housed at the local level before, and now it opens up a whole network of access. So we had to make a lot of back-end changes to be able to make network memberships work, but it's so cool to look at and see it actually happen and members use it between locations. So when you're setting up a membership in your network, in your location template, you have a lot of the same tabs that you're going to see, a lot of the same setup options that you're used to seeing at your local level. You can preset a lot of your reservation rules, you can preset costs, court types, things like that. As long as all of these things match one for one when you within your actual locations, and hopefully everything's set up based on a template, so everything should be mostly the same between organizations. But as long as you've got the same court types mapped, as long as you've got the same reservation types mapped, everything, all of your pricing can also be set up at the membership level as well. And those are all going to carry into your locations when you send the network membership. And we'll talk about what happens when you send it in a couple of minutes. When you're setting up your network membership, you set up the initial meat of that membership here in the location template, but there is going to be setup involved in each of your individual locations, and I'll get into more of that in a few minutes. But we always recommend making sure that when you create this membership, it's not public. That way you don't inadvertently publish it on the member portal when you actually send it to the locations before you're actually ready to sell it. So I did want to highlight that. Very important when you're setting up a network membership, just make sure it's not public so you can make sure it is set up appropriately within your locations. All right, so then we get into the network membership tab. This is where I'm actually going to make my network membership a network membership. So if I'm coming in here and I haven't set up this tab yet, actually I can't uncheck it because it's already active in some of my locations. So when you initially come here, this checkbox is unchecked, the screen is pretty blank, but once you enable it, you're going to have the ability to choose which locations can sell this membership, okay? So I could actually go into my list here and I can say, well, I only want this to be sold at location 1 and 2. I don't want locations 3, 4, 5, and all of the rest of them to be able to sell this membership. And I'll go over use case for maybe a combination of some of these settings here in a couple of minutes, but let me just get through the rest of the settings. So you can choose who can sell this membership, which locations can sell it. You can say that these locations selling the membership are allowed to update the membership pricing for their location. So at the enterprise level, at the network membership setup level, you can decide if your locations are going to be able to update pricing at the location level. So you can make this one price, you can make this membership pricing locked in and sent to all of your locations, and nobody's going to be able to update that pricing except for your enterprise managers. So that is definitely something to keep in mind when you're setting up network memberships, as if you want people at the local level in each of your locations to be able to edit the pricing. And that would just control anything on this pricing tab here. So when you actually get into the locations themselves, a lot of the settings that are going to be on this membership pricing tab, or all of them actually, would be disabled. So they could only update them from the enterprise level. And actually, I'm going to uncheck, or I'm going to uncheck these so you can see what that looks like on the other side. Okay. So then we also have another setting here that will allow the locations that sell this membership to update the general settings for their location. That's this tab right here. So once you send this membership to all of your locations, can the admins at those locations update this tab? Now, what's on this tab? This tab has my membership name. It has the description. It has the short description. It has the purchase start date and end date and all of that. So at the enterprise level, you can restrict anything on this page, or everything on this page, I should say. So those admins at the local level can't update them. This creates consistency, very important. So you'll be able to set the description. They can't change the description. you have the same membership purchase start date and end date periods, or even the same membership start and end dates across all of your locations. So consistency is key. We want you to be able to lock down those fields so you can control, what's happening at all of your locations, especially with these very high level memberships. All right, and we're still 0 on the questions. So I'm going to keep going, Josh. But that is really it for the network membership. So now I've sent all of my network memberships into my locations. Let's actually jump into a location. I don't think there was anything that I really wanted to go over again on this enterprise dashboard. Oh, I did want to hit some reporting. So on the reporting, you have access to a couple of different reports. We have club-based activity available on this report, and really this is going to allow you to look at a particular period of time and run a report. And there's no activity because this is a test organization, but it's going to run a report where you can see activity that's happening at your organizations at a very high level. So in this period of time, how many reservations did I have? How many active members did I have? How many closures did I put on my courts? I'm in Florida. It rains all the time. We're probably going to have a closure every day in the summertime, but maybe my club's up in Texas that doesn't rain there as much. So they're going to have less closures. Event dates. How many event dates did I have scheduled during that time period? How many system users do I have at that location? How many instructors do I have and how many courts? So you definitely can see at a high level what the activity was at the club during that period of time. And then we also provide you the same type of information on the event summary. So you can go into your organizations and you can see at a high level for a period in time, what kinds of activity were happening, what kinds of events were happening, what was my participation like. So you can at a high level, without having to deep dive into each individual club and each individual report at each club, you can get that information up front from your enterprise dashboard. And then the same for registrant summary and court utilization. You're going to have all of those reports here at that high level so you can report on your different locations without having to navigate into them and search up these reports individually. All right, so now let's do the fun part. Let us go back into an actual location. We're going to go over some other stuff in each location, like the difference between enterprise users and system users and the SSO. I'll also show you more of that network membership stuff. So let us go in here. I'm going to click home. So I could have entered, oops, wrong button. Okay. So I navigated into one of my organizations. So now let's talk about the SSO. So I've come out of my enterprise dashboard and I've come back into my CourtReserve organizations that we all know and love and that we are in every single day and managing everything. Okay. So if you are in an enterprise, as I mentioned before, you have access to the SSO. Well, how do I know I have the SSO? The SSO is this drop down up here. So every organization that you are a part of, you're going to have in a list here that you as a system user can go into. So we're not really talking enterprise manager level anymore. We're now talking about your system users, your admins and your sub-admins, okay? So how do I make sure my admins and sub-admins can navigate to all of these different locations if they need to, okay? They're gonna have to exist at these locations, okay? So as long as they carry the same email address between locations, they will be able to navigate to any other location that they are part of. So again, you might not have a need for this, but it's definitely very helpful to have maybe managers be able to go back and forth between locations. You could make them a sub-admin in one location and an admin in another location. So you definitely have a lot of control over what that person's access is, even if they have a single sign-on between the different locations. Again, this is different than your enterprise manager. Enterprise manager is somebody that you only want to have that really high level access. But then at the everyday level, you can still keep those normal admin and sub-admin permissions and offer them flexibility to be able to navigate between locations if needed. But again, they have to carry the same email address between all of the locations. And then if they're an enterprise manager, they'll have access to this extra tab over here on the left-hand side to navigate back to that enterprise dashboard anytime they need to. But again, enterprise manager is different than the admin sub-admin permissions. It just gives them access into this other entry point to view high-level information about your enterprise.
All right, so we talked about system users, the difference between enterprise managers, and all of that fun stuff. Let's dive back into network memberships. So we talked about this all access gold membership when we were in the location template, and I kind of gave you a high level of what some of that looks like at the enterprise level. Um, so you'll notice here I have two memberships. So this is how network memberships works. So I have the primary. That's the one that's going to be sent to all of my locations. That's going to be the one that looks like every other membership that I have at my organization that I'm used to. So it's just going to carry the same standard name and all of that. Then I have what we call the network component. So this is the members, and I'm sorry, this primary one, this is going to be the one that is available for purchase at my organization. So anytime somebody comes to my organization and purchases a network membership, this is going to be the one that they buy. And then we have a network component here directly below it. So again, you send this membership to your locations. If you if they're allowed to sell it and access it, they're going to have both of these, but they could have, one. So one of them could just have like the network component if it's only an access. But this is the one where you're going to set all of your any additional information about this membership that you want to standardize at this club. So all of your event pricing and everything is going to fall under this one when a membership is sold here. And then the network component, this is the one that we assign to somebody when they purchase it elsewhere. So if they come to your club and they are visiting from a different club that's not where they purchased their primary, when they come to your club, they're going to be assigned this network component membership. So then you can track the difference between who's purchased at my club and who's purchased elsewhere. This is also another way that you can add benefits to people who purchase their membership at your location. So we have some organizations using network memberships who will incentivize their members to play at their locations more by maybe having lower costs, or because these are two different memberships, you can say that whoever purchases their membership in my location is going to maybe have 7 days in advance to book their courts. While somebody who's on a network component where they purchase this membership elsewhere, maybe they only have 5 days in advance to book their courts or register. So there's a lot of anything that you can do at the membership level. You can split for the network memberships based on who purchased it here and the network component who purchased it somewhere else. And it helps you kind of give more value where you want to give more value. So I highly recommend taking a look at that if you're interested in doing the network memberships. Again, you don't have to do network memberships if you have enterprises. If you are going to kind of keep different business models but sell franchises, they can still have those local memberships and you don't necessarily have to give access. So it's totally up to you. There is flexibility with that. It's just another level of membership. One of the things we recommend doing is if you're an existing club whose members have been, used to the same membership structure that they have already had, introduce network memberships as a new level. It's now going to be a buy-up option or something like that. So maybe it wasn't a membership level that you already had. Introduce it as a new one, and so then you can charge more money for that membership, and then they have access to a whole network. That's a good question that just came in. Can admins at all locations see all players no matter what location they joined? So when a member joins a location, they're only joining at that location. And so we're not going to automatically be pre-populating these members into one general database for you. Each location is still going to house their individual members. So the reason we did it that way is because we know we have organizations that have franchises all over the country. And so, if you're joining a club in Washington, D.C., you're probably never, maybe you're never going to go to a club in San Antonio. And so it keeps, the organization's databases separate, a little bit more clean that way. So you can track member activity more based on who your true members are. But if I happen to go to San Antonio and I want to play pickleball and I have a network membership, I can go to that club. And when I access that club, it's automatically going to grant me access. And then I am a player at that organization. So I hope that answers your question. So we're not pre-populating everybody into a grand database for every single one of your clubs. They're still going to carry their own members list. So if you are can admins at all locations see the players no matter what locations they're joined at? So I would answer that by specifically saying no, unless they have access to multiple locations. But I do have some kind of ideas floating around on maybe how we could do that on the network or the enterprise manager level within the dashboard. So not saying it's never going to be a possibility, but at this time, those admins at those individual locations are only going to see the members that are at that location, whether they have a membership that was purchased there or a membership that was purchased elsewhere. So then when we actually get into the network memberships themselves, this all access gold membership, this is going to look really just like any other membership you have here. But as you can see, I cut off access at the location level to be able to update these first two tabs. So they're going to see a message if they ever came in here that tells them that, hey, you can't do this. Please contact your enterprise manager, and they'll be able to update it for you. And then the enterprise manager would have to make a business decision about if this is something they want all of their clubs to be able to do or not. So then the next thing I wanted to, and then from here, some of the things you can't set up at the location template level are going to be things like your wait lists and booking windows. So if you're going to have wait lists for network memberships, you can have it for that primary membership that is purchased. Just remember, if it's being sold somewhere else, they could always go somewhere else to buy it and still obtain it. So, in some way, shape, and form, waitlists might not fit for all models of network membership. So just kind of gauge that as you need to when you are creating them. But then when I get into the network component piece of the network membership, this one's going to look a lot slimmer. So again, this is the membership that is given to players that access my club from another location. Okay, so they purchased this at location B, location C, location D, location Z. But when they come to my club, this is the membership that they're going to be assigned. So you see here a few different or a few less windows than you did on the other one. I'm not going to have a wait list for this one. I don't see the general setup tab for this one. I don't see the membership price tab for this one. But I can set all of my rules that anything that is at the membership level based on a rule, so costs and reservation rules, booking windows, portal settings access. So I could, require that the payment profile for this membership type is required when players come in here. So there's still a lot that you can do and a lot that you can set up about the network component when those players come to your club. One of the other things I want to touch about with network memberships is once you send these memberships to your club, you do have to make sure that there are some other pieces, like I just mentioned, that you're setting up. So again, booking windows. If you're using booking windows, those are going to be things that you're going to want to set up at this local level. And then when you get both of this network component and the actual membership set into your club, you're going to have to update all of your events too, with all of the pricing and make it public and all of that fun stuff. So out of necessity, when we created network memberships, we also created the way for you to mass update your memberships or your events. Sorry, this is something that people have been asking us for quite a long time. And so because of network memberships, because we knew that we were going to have clubs that were going to be adding membership levels and things like that, we started a mass update events process or a page where the first things that you can do are update things specific to the membership level. So let's say I have events coming up and I just added a new level of membership. And so I want to quickly go add pricing to all of my events or quickly, turn on registration, quite frankly, for all of this new membership type. I can come in here and search up my events and I can update my membership fields. Now, because this is something that's at the membership level, these fields are actually, the update the membership fields, this is actually the first tab that I'll go to manual so you can see that play out. So when you have an event, you have your setup tab down at the bottom. That is your first tab of all of those extra tabs that we have at an event. But this is going to allow you to simply copy. You can do a couple of different things here. You could copy from a current membership or you can manually update. So if I was creating a new level of membership, or if I was adding a network membership that was based on one that I already had, I could actually go in here and say, I want to copy this membership to this new membership that I just created. This is one that I created as a test yesterday. So I could say all of my events that have pricing and setup related to this membership, I'm going to copy to this new membership I just created, and it's going to copy all of that information from one event to another related to that membership type. So all of my pricing, all of my, your allow online registration, require upfront payment, all of that, pretty much anything from this tab can then be updated at that high level and copy from one membership to another. We also have this manual update process here too, to where I can just, this doesn't even have to be used for network memberships. If I set up a whole bunch of events and I want to allow players to register, I want to go in and mass turn on all of my events. I could come in here and update, the membership rules for all of these different memberships that I have on events. And I can, show registrants all at once, or I can change when the event start for registration is, that kind of stuff. Or I can change all of my pricing in one swoop too. I'm getting ready to go in and, update all of my pricing for 2026. I could come in here and do that all at once because those settings are all at the membership level. And then the other thing you can do with this is because guests are for events, true guests on events are also controlled at the membership level, who can bring what and how much they are. These are also things that you can mass update on an event as well. So we kind of got off on a little tangent there, but I did want to showcase that because this did, again, come out of network memberships. But so that's really a high level of network membership. So I'm going to take you into a player profile and just show you what this player their membership looks like. So this is somebody that purchased their membership at my location. So their membership is just going to look like any other membership that I've ever had in my system. It has the start date, the end date, the purchase date, all of that stuff with it. I can generate billing cycles, change the membership, suspend the membership, cancel the membership. The beauty about network memberships is these statuses, suspend and cancel, are going to carry across all of the locations too that this player has access to. So if you suspend the membership in location A, this membership is going to be suspended in locations B, C, D, E, Z, all of them. Okay, so you can really control access to these members at the different location levels through the suspended and also through the canceled. So if this membership is canceled at this location, it's going to cancel anywhere else this player had the network component. So if they were visiting, a whole bunch of clubs in my network and they were part of the network memberships and they could access as many clubs as they want, that membership gives them access. So once they cancel it at my primary location, then I'm going to now, I'm going to need to make sure that they're canceled everywhere else too, because their membership is no longer active. They need to purchase another one. The other thing that I can do from the network membership, or if I have a network membership, is this is new. This came out a couple weeks after we did, we released network memberships, is they can transfer network memberships. So they purchased it at my primary club, but let's say they're moving San Antonio. They're going from DC to or I'm moving from Winter Garden to San Antonio. I can transfer this network membership to my other location as an admin. So this player can still access with their same level of membership, and it's actually just going to pick up and keep them on the same billing cycles and price. Well, pricing is dependent on the location. So if you do have some locations that are on different pricing, but they are going to stay on the same payment cycle and all of that stuff. They will take on, if the pricing is different at that location, the next time their billing cycle runs, they will pay the price at that location. But anyway, I can transfer the membership. And now as an admin, this is what it looks like if I don't have the primary. So if a player comes to my organization and they have a network component, this is actually what they're going to look like. So I kind of did a twofold on the use case here, that's what we were looking at with the transfer. So I transferred this member to another location, but now in my location where they existed before, they're going to show up with that network component. So again, their membership, when they come to this club, it's going to be looking at pricing, it's going to be looking at booking rules and everything for this network component. And so I can also see who owns their primary location. And the only thing I can't do in here is bring it back. So when you transfer a network membership to another location, now that location owns the membership, and I'm not going to be able to get that back unless they transfer it back to me or they can transfer it to a different location. So that's just really the high level of how network memberships works. You can use them to access multiple locations. As an admin, you can transfer them to different locations and all of that stuff too. So definitely a lot of functionality there. I also want to throw out, if you transfer a player to a location and that player doesn't exist there yet, we're going to create that member in that location for you. Again, the use case of moving cross country. Chances are I've never been to that location before already, so I'm probably not going to be in that location. But my original location here in Winter Garden can still send my membership there, even though I've never visited there before. So we're going to create that initial player. We're also, if they have a family, we're going to create their family in those locations too. All right. Let me just look at my list here of notes to make sure that I've covered what I need to cover, but I feel pretty good about all the information. Josh, knowing what you know about network memberships or the locations and enterprises, is there anything you can think of that maybe you've heard about questions that get asked or anything like that?
Not that I can think of. And it doesn't
Okay.
look like we have any questions. So it looks like you covered all that there is.
Awesome. I also wanted to mention, actually, I just thought of that while I was bringing you on, Josh. If you are a current customer of CourtReserve and you have multiple locations already, you're not using network memberships, or you are adding locations and you're going to become an enterprise, if you want to take an existing level of memberships and make it a network membership, you can do that. So we have a whole setup process with our onboarding team if you're adding new locations, and they will take you through the process of, maybe transferring any current memberships you have to a network membership. There is a little bit longer of a process if we're transferring a current membership to a network membership. There is a migration involved that our development team helps us with. There's a whole checklist of things that we make sure. But in the end, we do make sure that your members are going to stay on the same billing cycle. And when appropriate, they can even keep the same pricing that they've already been holding as well. So there's a lot of things with that we want to make sure that they have the smoothest transition between the current membership they have and the network membership. So if this is something you want to just roll into a current membership level that you have, you can totally do that. We will help you with that migration and getting those players over to a network membership. The second piece of that is, if you're a current CourtReserve customer, you are operating multiple locations. Maybe you're already in a franchise and you have multiple locations in that franchise. If you have not converted to network memberships yet and you would like to, you want to include this in a membership level that you already have. Maybe you're using our famous workaround method that we were doing before, where essentially you had a paid membership in one location, but you were manually adding a free membership in another one. You don't have to do that anymore. If we get you on network memberships, we will help you with the we'll kind of guide you through that setup process through making that membership public. And then there's an additional piece to that our team will help you handle, where you're going to tell us, which membership do I currently have that's going to map to my new network membership. And we will map all of those players and we will convert those players to network members for you. Again, retaining all of that important stuff, like their billing cycles, their next billing dates, all of that. So definitely, if you are interested in becoming an enterprise customer, or you currently are, definitely reach out to our support team and we can get you started on that. Or if you're currently in our onboarding process and you're working with an account executive or our onboarding team, definitely talk to them about upgrading to the enterprise level and we can get you started on that. There was a question that just came in about costs or custom costs. Those don't copy over from the template, correct? Actually, I am excited to tell you that that was an update that we made recently, probably in August, to where if you set up a custom cost in the enterprise dashboard on that location template, you can actually now set up custom costs at the location template level, and those are going to copy into your locations. So as long as and let's use custom costs, for example, because I have a test one here where I ran to validate that this actually worked. So if I'm going to copy a cost to new locations, I can set up this cost. And every time I set up a new location, as long as all of my fields here match one for one, so my reservation types are the same, hours of operations match, things like that, this custom cost is going to carry into that location. Same thing with network memberships. So if I set up a network membership and I set up custom costs associated with that network membership, I had one in here yesterday actually that I think I deleted. But anyway, if you set up a network membership and you have it include custom costs, those custom costs are also going to carry into your local clubs as well. Again, as long as that information matches one for one. So they have to have the same, membership types. It has to be the same. It has to be the same reservation types and all of that stuff. But as long as everything is hopefully set up based on a template, all of that's going to carry into your new locations or your current locations if they already are functioning and you're just sending a new network membership to those levels. That's a good question, and I'm glad we asked it because we did update that late last month. I had some very excited franchises that were excited they didn't have to set up all their custom costs every time anymore. All right. Well, Josh, I don't see any other questions. And we're right at about 55 minutes. So everybody, thank you so much for joining Josh and I today. I really had a blast showing you all what the enterprises entails and everything around network memberships. This was a project that we worked on for a very long time, so we're very excited to get this out and have our customers using it. If you have any questions about what we covered today, we're going to have the YouTube video up on our YouTube channel in the next 24 hours. But if there's a question that you thought of that you would like answered, please just ping our live chat support team. If they're well versed in enterprises and network memberships, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those. And if they might not know the answer, they'll come find me. So definitely we want to get those questions answered and we want to get you guys on enterprises. So looking forward to seeing you all again soon. I believe we have some more webinars that we will be planning for. If not, they're not already up for later this year. I know I was talking to Ashley about adding some new ones. So we'll have some more webinars in our Spark series coming soon. But thank you all for joining, and it'll be up on YouTube in about 24 hours. Bye, guys.
Right.
Thanks
Bye,
for joining.
everybody.